Good afternoon and welcome to the Kerry Garden Show. Alan Finn checking back in with you for another show here from Boyles of Killorglin. We've had a good week of weather, so it's definitely a good time to get out in the garden. Let's start the show by heading over to the potting shed and getting some tips from Trish. Good afternoon, Trish. How are we doing?
Very good, Alan. Yeah, delighted now to be in the garden centre and out in the garden and doing a bit of work.
Absolutely, and we're not just that. We're down here by the potting shed here in Boyles of Killorglin, and we're going to start off the show with some tips.
What
have you got for us this week?
I want to get everybody out in the garden now because it's actually got milder and things have to be done out in the garden this time of the year. Mm-hmm. There's still time to plant onions. So these are your onions. They grow to the big onion that you have.
Okay.
So still plenty of time to be planting them. We have a good few in stock.
Mm-hmm.
Potatoes are another thing. I know we did a show on potatoes, so I won't go through the whole thing about it. But just to remind you, we still have a lot of varieties in stock at the moment now as well.
Last chance kind of to get them in.
Yeah, last chance. So you'd really want to be doing it. They always say, like, you plant potatoes before Patrick's Day. But really what you want to do is wait until the weather is milder. You really have to go by the weather rather than the dates.
Than the actual dates.
Yeah. So we have a good few varieties in stock now at the moment. We've got Kerr Pinks, we've got Home Guards, we've got the early British Queens. Mm-hmm. So get planting on them now as well, or even like that, as we were saying before, rather than buying them straight here and going home and thinking you can plant them, you actually have to sprout them first.
Okay.
So we did go through that in a couple of shows ago, but it just basically what it is just spreading your potatoes out, letting them sprout, and then you plant them. So if you buy your potatoes here today, it'll be about 2 to 3 weeks before you can actually plant them in the ground. Okay,
and that's just putting them in a small little pot, Trish, like we were saying, inside or in a nice kind of area.
In little egg boxes or something like that. Keep them in a lit area, not a dark spot. Let them sprout up. So even if you're not ready for them, be thinking, I have to plant them in 2 to 3 weeks' time, so now's the time to buy them.
Okay, great.
Another thing, Alan, I'm just going to pass over a couple of bulbs there to you. If you wanted a bit of colour in the summertime, now is the time to plant summer flowering bulbs. So what you have in your hand there now is a lily. And beautiful. That lily is absolutely fabulous because it's a beautiful fragrance of that. What's the name on it? Sorry,
Sorbonne.
Yes, Sorbonne, Lily Sorbonne. So there's 2 bulbs in that. And I actually have another variety of lily here as well. It's kind of like a day lily.
Is that a smaller one?
Yeah, it's a smaller flower. That one now is actually quite big, that one. Mm-hmm. Now, if you see the bulbs in the back, there's 3 bulbs in the back of this. Mm-hmm. So, obviously, these are the roots in it.
Yeah.
And then the pointy bit on top is
the sprouting.
The sprouting.
Yeah.
So, all the directions would be on the packets as to the depth you plant them and the width you plant them. And again, there's begonias. A lot of people plant these inside in pots. So now's the time to start these, let them sprout up, and they'll be flowering then throughout the summer. Yeah,
and if you are having them in pots, obviously to have them in a well-lit area as well, important.
That's another lovely one there, dahlias.
Oh, the dahlia.
A lot of people love dahlias. They flower for the whole summer. So you'll be planting the summer bulbs between kind of February and April, and they'll flower then from July onwards up until maybe October.
And it's great, as you said, all the instructions are there.
All the instructions
flowering
are on it.
July to October, planting, flowering height,
Yes, exactly. And this is another lovely one then, Lily of the Valley. A lot of people are looking for this plant, when it does come into flower. Very pretty little white flowers on it. And again, as you say, you plant them now and they will flower then about April, May, that time of the year. Again, they look like nothing in there. Small little things. There's actually 5 little plants in there.
Wow.
So you'll see the little shoots. Now, when you get the packets this time of the year, be very careful opening the packets that you don't break off the shoot because that's the plant.
Yeah.
So that's them, so that's potatoes and onions. Now, I know we did roses as well on the show, but if you did prune your roses the time we were saying to prune them, that's what the kind of should be looking like at the moment.
So that's that's the 2 weeks of new growth?
Yes, exactly. Wow. So it's surprising, it has grown about the 2 inches of growth in it. It's nice and healthy. As I was saying, you kind of keep them sprayed from now on every couple of weeks with the rose clear. But another important thing now that the weather has got milder is to start feeding them.
Okay.
So this is a rose fertiliser. Now, I think Jared was saying don't put any ordinary fertiliser on roses. They like the rose fertiliser because there's a magnesium in it and it'll actually green up the leaves, bring on better blooms onto your flowers then as well.
There's the 2 types really. There's ones that encourages growth and the others that encourages flowering, isn't that
so if you put on, say, too much nitrogen, all it's going to do is boost the plant up. It'll do it good if your roses aren't great at the start, but then make sure to put this on throughout the year as well. You can put it on every 3 to 4 weeks. Obviously during the summer, if it's sunny and the soil is dry, you wouldn't put it on in dry soil.
So it needs to be a little bit moist, Trish?
Exactly.
And now, it's not just with the hose, is that actually kind of
the only thing is, like, you wouldn't be really feeding them a lot throughout the main summer when they're in flower. But if you are, just even give it a bucket of water around it, let that seep in, and then scatter it in your fertilizer.
Okay.
But like when you feed it with this as well, it'll help combat funguses and green fly, because if the plant is healthy, it won't be prone to getting these things. So it's like yourself, if you were sick, you get everything under the sun. You know, so like
that's your vitamins, your multivitamins.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that should be kind of the roses.
Excellent.
Now another thing as well, a lot of people have hydrangeas in their garden, and we've always stressed, like, don't cut the hydrangeas or don't prune them before Christmas anyway, usually. Now you're getting very close to, you should have them pruned now, but if you haven't them pruned, you might have hydrangea at home, and the flower head, which would be like that, but it would obviously be gone all brown now.
All brown and
it'll be all
off,
brown.
yeah.
They're the ones that you cut off. So basically it would be on the top of it, and what you do is you need to come down to where a shoot is. So say for example that this was your big flower head, and you see there that there's little shoots, so you just cut like that.
Right.
You don't overlay prune, because if you cut too much off, you're reducing the flowers for this year. But a lot of people then ring and say, oh, my hydrangea is absolutely huge, I have to do something, but I have to prune it back. What you should do then is cut some branches off this year, leave some so that they will flower, and then next year, the ones that you left this year, you prune them next year. So that you have continuous flower then the whole time. Now, another thing as well.
So obviously, sorry Trish, does the pruning then encourage the growth?
It does, it encourages the growth.
But so if you were to leave it, it would just kind of tip along, but once you prune it back,
you need to take off the old dead heads off it to make room for the new growth.
Of course, brilliant.
Plus, if you kind of prune it back, and you're only pruning it back maybe 1 to 2 buds from the big flower head, the old flower head, that's all. There's no need to go back severe or anything like that. Again, now with the hydrangeas, if it's a blue one, it might be no harm to mulch it around with an ericaceous compost, and that'll keep them blue. Also, the last thing then for the tips of the day is the variegated shrubs. Now, this is a standard euonymus. You can get shrub forms of these. Also, there's a lot of different variegated shrubs. Now, if for a reason that you might see a green one coming out of it. Now, there's no green one in this, so I'm just taking as an example. Say all that was pure green.
Like a dark green.
A dark green. What it is, it's the original euonymus coming back. So you want to get rid of that, because if you don't, the original one will take over the whole bush. So if that was all green, what I would do is I would cut right back to the stem, right back there, and that'll get rid of it. Or even if that little shoot, just that little shoot was green, you cut it right back to there.
And what can actually cause that, Trish?
It's just reverting. Say for example this particular one, it's a newer variety. The bottom part of it was the original euonymus, and then they grafted on a variegated one onto the top of it. And sometimes also as well with these, you might get shoots coming out of them or down at the base. Again, it's the same thing, it's the old thing, reverting. So if you get a shoot coming out of it, just cut right back, and that's it.
Great, brilliant. Right, Trish, well listen, thanks very much for all those tips for this week, and now it's time to head on over to Ger. Ger, how's it going? How are things?
Good, can't complain. The weather is good.
It's nice and dry anyway.
It's lovely. We're out in the t-shirt.
Perfect. I know, just about keeping it going. It's perfect weather for getting out in the garden. Just also want to remind people, if you were watching on Facebook, to like and comment underneath the video, and if you have any questions as well too, it'll be great. So, Ger, lots to cover again this week. What have we got to start with?
Yeah, so we'll start off with the veggie garden.
The veggies, yes.
It's very popular at the moment. I think after patio days, people are like, right, we have to get into the garden, we have to get the veggies in.
Polytunnels, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, your raised veggie boxes. Even if you have a balcony, you can do it on your patio. So if we'll do strawberries first, maybe, and
going to have a little demonstration.
So we'll just go through it quickly. So as you can see, we've a hanging basket planted up, so that can go on a full sun wall with a hanging bracket, or if you have a little bed to hang it off of, you could hang it off the bed or a rail, anything like that. As you can see, they're starting to flower. So do you see the white flowers here?
Lovely, yeah.
These are all going to be strawberries in about 6 weeks' time.
Beautiful.
So if we keep getting this weather, you might have them a little bit earlier. And this hanging basket will be lush with strawberries in a few weeks' time. So if you've baskets at home, you could put 3 3 strawberries into it. There's 3 inside in this.
No more than that, you're just to make sure that they get enough.
3 will be plenty.
Yeah, okay.
And just to regularly water it in. If you've got a window box, this is a 60 centimetre window box here. We've layered this with an inch of stone in the bottom of it, just for drainage. It's a good multi-purpose compost. It's a Jack's Magic. And literally, just before you plant, just get a nice slow release fertiliser.
Okay.
Just give it a little sprinkle, and that'll keep it fed until you start putting on your tomato food, maybe in mid-April.
Okay.
So just give that a good mix with the soil.
Getting all down and dirty, Jar. Come on.
That's it. So just give the pot a little squeeze before you take it out.
Yeah.
So that's there. You can see the roots. You don't want something that's well rooted. Literally, just put your hand in, quick little hole, and just firm it in. It's as easy as that. It's
brilliant.
Very,
it does
very
look
quick.
pretty easy, Jar. You're making it look easy.
So with these, with a 60 centimetre window box, you can get about 3 strawberry plants into it.
So 3 is the magic number, really, isn't it?
3 is the magic
number.
3
is the magic number.
Again, with the likes of your window box, you can get your lettuce.
Yeah.
And you can plant, again, when you're taking out the lettuce, don't pull, because you'll pull the plant
You pull the leaves
apart.
off. Yeah.
So just give it a little squeeze, and the plant will come out, no problem at all. And literally, you can plant it.
Same thing again.
As simple as that, and you get maybe 4 into a little window box.
Okay.
If you're doing raised boxes, literally just in a straight line, about 6 inches apart.
And it's important you kind of keep them together as well, Ger, wouldn't it? It's kind of good to have, like, maybe I'd say 2 rows of lettuce and then your 2 rows of strawberries.
100%. And let's say if you're doing a row of carrots, maybe have your onions on the next row. And maybe garlic on the other side of it, or onions again.
Is that a complementary thing?
It is, because the scent off the onions will keep the carrot root fly away. So you don't want to be bringing the carrot root fly. So it's just a little trick. If your space is limited, just every second one.
Carrots and onions,
and that'll keep your root fly away.
Mighty, great stuff.
The other thing then is with the likes of the lettuce.
Yeah.
You've your problem with your slugs.
There's slugs. We want to keep those slugs away from eating them.
Straight away, because we've had a relatively mild winter. Usually you want a good hard frost to get rid of a lot of the slugs. We haven't had that.
Okay.
So as once you put down your lettuce or anything that's leafy and juicy for the slugs to eat, just put down a few slug pellets. The one I have in my hand here is an organic one. It's a certified organic. It's not harmful to birds. Again, a lot of people the last couple of years, they're gone into their environmentally friendly.
So would there have been a common issue where birds would have picked them up and poisoned themselves?
And would have poisoned the bird.
Yeah.
So
okay.
This is a good one just to keep the slugs at bay. And again, if you're doing it in your pots or your window boxes, we have slug tape. So what it is, it's copper tape.
Okay.
Slugs can't travel across copper tape.
Right.
So if you put it along the rim of the pot
here,
here,
the outside, they won't
be able to climb up over.
Great stuff.
And that goes for all your pot plants as well.
Yeah, excellent. Now you're also telling me about this one. This is Primazor Turbo.
Yeah, so the Primazor Turbo, it's a brilliant weed killer. Let's say if you're putting out Roundup and you're putting it on your pats, Roundup only kills on contact. So the idea with the Primazor Turbo, it gives season-long control.
Season long. So it's a long lasting.
So if you put it out from now through till April, it puts a seal over the ground, so it stops all emerging weeds. So it's
great stuff.
Instead of going out every 6 weeks with your Roundup or every 2 months, just do this now, and that should keep you going till October.
Brilliant.
And again, you can put it on your in your flower beds, but just make sure you're not getting in contact with any leaves. Any leaves,
okay. And again, is it dilution levels very important?
Yeah, so you just always with weed killers or any products like that, just go through the instructions in the back. It's about 8.5 mils to a litre of water. There's no point in going any stronger. It's going to do more harm than good. Or there's no point in going too weak.
Yeah.
Just the other thing then with the veggie garden, we also had the tomatoes in stock.
Yes. We had a few questions actually.
We'll be going through tomatoes as the season progresses and giving people tips and how to look after them.
Yeah.
But they're they're new in this week. This is the Money Maker, which is the traditional one. It's probably one of the easier ones to grow. We also have the cherry tomatoes coming in, the Gardener's Delight, and we have the Red Profusion, which are the very small cherries that you could do exactly like the strawberries.
Same as the strawberries.
You could put them into your hanging basket.
Yeah.
But we'll go through all the tips later on in the year with the tomatoes.
Yeah.
But just with the tomatoes as well, if the nights are cold, just make sure that you put a fleece over them inside your polytunnel or glass house, just in case it gets that bit too cold.
Yeah, and also just to mention to people who are watching on Facebook that after the show we're going to answer any questions and stuff like that with Trish and Ger. So do make sure you get the questions in, and we'll try and answer them at the end of each show.
So this is another gift of a plant, Alan.
Right.
It looks nothing now. I know it's
looks like a bit of an overgrown garlic bloom. Yeah.
But every year around late April, May, people that are coming into Clarny and they're going through the Ballydownie roundabout. This is inside in the middle of it, and it's a big purple flower, and it's about 4 foot off the ground with a big head. It's called an allium. They're a stunning plant, amazing plant. But again, if you want that bit of colour, yeah, let's say if you have a lot of low growing plants and you just want a little pop of colour to come out, or maybe a foot above your colour. This is ideal, and it'll flower for 2-3 months of the year. We do tend to go on about those roundabouts into Clarny. I remember last year we were talking about them. Some of them they look amazing. Stunning. Brilliant. So we have them in purples and we have them in whites as well. Okay, right. Plant of the week. So we have two. We have two, but they're actually the same plant, but just different colours. They come in many different colours. So these are called Sinettis. Again, they're like a daisy. They come in pinks, purples. Some come with pinks and maybe a little tinge of white going through them. But again, for your pot colour this time of the year, especially through Easter and into May, they're brilliant. So just a few tips with them. When you do plant them, just make sure that you have plenty of grit in the bottom of your pot, or if you're planting them into the soil, make sure it's a well-drained soil. The other thing is when you're deadheading, if you just look in there, Alan, if you pinch them, let's say here, right, I'll just pull it there. You want to take a good bit of the flower head, because with that, if you pinch it here, you're not going to get a flower to repeat here. Okay. So pinch them down and give them a good feed of tomato food, maybe early April, and you get blooms right through early summer. What do you call it again, Ger? Sinetti. Sinetti. Great. We'll be talking about deadheading, no doubt, numerous times throughout the season. Listen, with plants like that, deadheading is the most important, because if you don't deadhead, you're just going to have spent flowers on the top of them and nothing to replace them. So keep deadheading, keep feeding, and you'll be rewarded. Brilliant, great stuff. That is pretty much it for the garden show here on Radio Kerry. So from myself, Alan, and from Trish and Ger here in Boyles of Killorglin, thanks very much. Happy gardening. Hello and welcome to the Garden Show Extra, where we're going to be answering some of your questions that you sent in. Do remember that you can watch all the videos on our Facebook page. The Garden Show parts 1 and 2, and part 3 of course will be up as well too soon, and this will be a little questions and answers we'll have with Trish, who is joining me again. How are you, Trish?
I'm very good, thank you.
Good stuff. So we had a few questions coming in from listeners. The first one was about a listener who was looking to replace a hydrangea. And wanted to know what she needed to do. That's right. I think as far as I could gather, she had a shrub bed and some shrub had died out of it, and she wanted to put a hydrangea in the inside of it. Now, the only thing is, if your shrub that was there before is quite large, just make sure you take it all out, including the root system. Take out as much as the root system. So you might have to dig quite a big hole to get it out. If that needs be, when the old shrub will come out, it's going to drag an awful lot of the soil with it. So you need to replace the soil. So replace it not just with compost, but with topsoil as well, because compost will just dry out too much, whereas the topsoil will give the structure to the soil. So put in your topsoil, and again, as we were always saying, if it is that she wants a blue hydrangea, then you'd have to put in the peaty ericaceous soil. But if it's the pink or the white, any soil will do. So you could use Jack's Magic or John Innes. Just mix it in. A little bit of a slow release fertiliser or the chicken manure. You could put a fistful in, mix it in with the soil, and you could plant away and be quite happy then. Great stuff. Okay. Now, polytunnels at the moment, there's a lot of people kind of preparing, and of course we've covered some of the things that are covered in. But Eileen got in contact and is wondering, what are the best varieties of peas and tomatoes to grow? Okay, well, your peas now, there's a nice one called Cleven Wonder, or there's Durst. They would be two varieties. Peas are quite easy to grow.
Even if you did have the space outside, you're probably better off to put them out. But obviously, when you have your polytunnel, you want things to come a little bit earlier. So you can put in your seed. Now, the seed in that is like a little pea. They can be quite hard, so sometimes you're better off to steep them in water overnight before you plant them.
Okay, so it's just to kind of soften them before you put them into the ground.
It swells them up, and it brings on the germination of the peas that little bit quicker. So you'd put them in a row going out and plant them, say, maybe about 6-7 inches apart. But once you see the little shoots coming up, put in a cane or put in wire system or something, because they'll need the support. Because if you don't do it, what will happen? They'll just all and they'll tangle with each other. And so have your support up and let them grow with that.
Okay.
The tomatoes then we have, as Ger was saying earlier, we'd have the money maker, which is the normal tomato, which is the common one, very hardy, easy to grow. You have Shirley is another lovely one as well, and then if you wanted to go the small little cherry tomatoes, you've got the Gardener's Delight, and then you've got Sunburst, which would be kind of a goldy small little one as well.
Lovely. So they'd be nice for the salads later in the summer.
Oh, they'd be fabulous. And I'll tell you, there is nothing like growing your own tomato.
Really?
Oh, the flavour is just next to none.
Wow.
Yeah, it's the same, I suppose, with growing any fruit or veg yourself. The taste is far superior.
Brilliant.
Because you know what you're putting on it or not putting on it, as they say.
Yeah, okay. And our final question came in from Monica, who is probably, like a lot of people around the county, having a little bit of problem with deer, and is wondering, is there any sort of plants she could put down, or shrubs that would deter deer from coming into her garden?
Okay, yeah, deer can be quite a problem, all right. I mean, you know, you could put up the big fences, but not everyone can do that.
No, not everyone can do it, yeah.
Beech hedging, we're finding that they don't go near at all. So if you were to put your perimeter plant as your beech hedge, that would stop them then from coming into the garden straight away. But if you can't do that and you have a small garden, there's no room for hedges or anything like that, deers don't like odours. So you're talking about something like planting plants that have a lovely scent in it, like choisia, which is a Mexican orange blossom. The scent of that will actually keep them away. If you were going trees, something like the eucalyptus, again the leaves emit a lovely scent off it. They don't like that.
So the deer are not actually attracted by scents. In fact, they're
scents and odours and all that. So you're talking about lavenders, santallinas. You have winter flowering mahonias that would flower during the winter, because obviously the deer will come at any time. You've got the herbs then as well. All of them type of things. Or if she's got plants planted already and she doesn't have anything that's going to deter them, get your garlic, crush it and make up a liquid of it and pour it around the garden.
Yeah, that's a little cheat there.
Yeah.
But
work. Again, when it rains, you'll have to reapply that.
Okay, that's
so
the
it's
only
probably
problem.
better to plant
something.
Yeah, or else the other thing as well, carbolic soap or something like that. Put a hole in the middle of it. Tie it onto a tree or something. It's just that odour.
Carbolic soap.
Yeah, anything like that.
Strong
anything with
smells.
a strong scent on it. I know you can get lavender soaps or anything like that. Anything like that.
And that'll keep them away.
And that'll keep them away.
Great stuff. Well, listen, there's great tips, and thanks very much to everyone who sent in those questions. And do make sure that you like and comment on the videos. Put in your questions, and we'll try and get to them whenever we can. Trish, thanks very much.
No bother. Thanks, Alan.
Talk to you again. Bye.